Hey everyone, Nubkeks here. Today I'm going to tell you guys the top 5 heroes that everyone should be able to play for Hero League in Heroes of the Storm. So the goal here isn't to make a list of the 5 strongest or the 5 most fun. It's really the 5 most flexible heroes that can fill in every type of different role. Just getting the maximum role coverage with just 5 heroes alone. Because that's the nature of Hero League. You're going to be required to play lots of different types of heroes. And with these 5 as the foundation, you'll be able to craft a really good hero pool that can respond to nearly every situation. Alright, the first hero on the list covers both melee and ranged assassin in one actually, and that's Greymane. I think no surprise here really at all. Of course, with his ability to switch between human and worgen form at will, he can switch between being a more sustained range damage dealer and then a burstier, harder hitting melee assassin. He can also talent around this, both in his regular talents at every single tier and also his heroic. He can talent into the ranged one or the melee one, whichever one fits his team and fits the needs of the team better. He brings pretty good wave clear. He's able to solo lane. He's extremely good at killing merc camps. He's very good at killing objectives as well. He works on basically every map. And the flexibility in terms of how you build him and how you play him means that, well, Greymane is just probably the best damage dealer in the game overall in terms of flexibility. You can pick him up early in basically every single draft and still be effective in the game regardless of the map and the team comps. And that makes Greymane number 1 for me. Alright, then hero number 2, and I should say that I would put Greymane at number 1, but the rest of this list is in no particular order. But the next one I've got anyway is Rengar, who is my support, my main healer of choice. So Rengar does an awful lot of things that some supports don't even do. He brings an awful lot of tools. So number 1, he's got AoE healing with his chain heal, and he can also spec into healing totem at level 4 for even more AoE healing. Then he also brings single target burst healing with Ancestral at level 10. He can also grab a cleanse at level 7 to again save people from single target burst and single target CC. He does good damage for support as well. He does surprisingly high damage. And with his lightning shield and even lightning shield talents, he can bring pretty good wave clear. He's pretty good against map objectives such as the shrines on Infernal Shrines. He's very good at taking merc camps, which is very unusual for a support hero. So yeah, you just take this whole package. He does AoE healing, single target healing. He's good at wave clear. He brings kill pressure in fights. That's a lot of tools that support brings. And for me, that makes him my top pick for support that everyone should be able to play. Hero number 3 is my specialist of choice, and that happens to be Sylvanas. So I'd say I would consider Sylvanas probably the lowest overall position on this list, probably the hero that's most open to being switched out for something else. But I have put her on this personally because for me, she brings that specialist role, and she's the most versatile of the specialists. She's very strong on nearly every map as well. She's particularly good on maps with pushing objectives, such as the Immortals on Battlefield of Eternity. Her passive, her trait, Black Arrow, which turns off structures, minimizes a lot of damage that those structures do to pushing objectives and lets them get an awful lot more damage done themselves. So that's very useful. But she's even good on other maps. For example, she can be extremely strong in Towers of Doom, where taking the towers does give you this sort of map pressure and extra shots. She can take a talent at level 1, Mercenary Queen, which enhances the sappers on Towers of Doom. So that can be really effective too. There's basically no map in the game where you don't want to push down forts and structures, and that's what Sylvanas brings in spades. She also has Wailing Arrow, which is a very strong teamfighting heroic. Her teamfighting isn't too bad, honestly, for a specialist. And all of those things combined together, they make her, for me, the most flexible rule breaker, and that's quite an unusual thing. You know, she switches up how the game is played because of how she works as a specialist, because of the impact that her trait has, and she can bring that really mixing up how the game is played and forcing people to adjust to it. She can bring that to nearly any map and nearly any team comp and still do very well. So that, for me, makes Sylvanas make this list. 4th is my tank of choice, and my personal tank of choice has to be ETC. I could also say, I know a lot of people will want Muradin up here, but I would actually lean more towards ETC as having a bit more of an impact just overall in general. So what does ETC bring? Well, I mean, first of all, the most obvious thing probably is that he brings 2 very powerful and very different heroics, which can both radically change the course of the game, and that makes him a very valuable tank to bring just in the first place. Mosh Pit, of course, his most famous heroic, channeled AoE stun, can just win the team fight all on its own, and the enemy team must play around it. They must pick things to counter Mosh Pit, otherwise they're going to find themselves in some trouble. So that's a really powerful tool to be able to bring. Alternatively, though, he also has Stage Dive, which gives your tank a global, which is no other tank has that. You've got Tahaka, but he's an off tank. But, you know, he's got a true global, which is an absolutely massive deal. It lets you split push. It lets you engage fights that people don't expect. You can do a whole load of tricks with Stage Dive. So yeah, that's such an impactful thing to bring on your tank. The fact that you can choose between these two very impactful heroics that both change the game in big ways, but in very different big ways. On top of that, he also brings an awful lot of natural CC and mobility in his base kit, as well as a bit of self-healing. So that makes ETC it's just super useful, right? His CC and mobility is always going to be good in every single game. And then, hey, even if they do have a team that counters Mosh Pit, you can still take Stage Dive and be super effective. So yeah, ETC has to be, for me, the #1 tank. Then my final choice is, I think, kind of the queen of solo queue. And this is Sonya. So Sonya is your off tank, your second tank, and one of the best solo lane heroes in the entire game. I noticed this particularly when coaching lower leagues of gameplay, is that very often they don't give anywhere near enough focus to the lanes in the draft. So having a powerful solo lane hero that you can reliably play can put you ahead in an awful lot of games, because you can say, yeah, I'm able to play a solo lane. We need a solo laner. Here we go. On top of this, Sonya, the thing that makes her so good is that her kit and the way she develops just fits in perfectly to the most important things at every stage in the game. So in the early game, when it's focused on laning, well, hey, what do you know? Sonya is incredibly good at solo laning. She's a very powerful laner, and that's the most important thing at the start. Moving in through level, like the mid game, fighting over objectives, what do you know? She's also really good at fighting over objectives, and you know she gets two very powerful team fighting heroics at level 10 as well, Berserker or Leap. On top of this then, in late game, the most important thing is, of course, team fights and winning team fights. And Sonya becomes incredibly powerful in the team fights, bringing that, you know, high damage dive while also being very survivable herself thanks to her late game talents. So yeah, I think all of those things combine together to make her the queen of solo queue, because she has huge carry potential that's sort of like tailor made for each of the most important carry areas at every single stage of the game. Maybe even the biggest endorsement I can give as well is that you do find a lot of one-trick ponies. Not that many, but you find a few, right, when you're playing in Hero League. And for me, like, out of all the Grandmaster one-trick ponies I've seen over in Europe anyway, Sonya has been the most common hero. You know, like, you look at their profile, you're like, hang on a second. I'm noticing that they're really good at Sonya, but nothing else. You look at their profile, it's like, yes, they have a 60% win rate on Sonya and a 40% on every other hero in the entire game. I see what's going on here. I've seen that happen with Sonya with more players than any other hero. So I think that does say a lot about how good she can be for Hero League in this game. So there you go, guys. That's my personal list of the top 5 heroes I think that everyone ought to be able to play going into Hero League. If you've got these 5 heroes, you're going to be able to fit yourself into nearly every situation. But you guys might have some suggestions as well, and let people know in the comments, because obviously people watching this video, they can check out those comments and get even more advice if they want to, do those 5 heroes, or let's say they don't like 2 or 3 of the heroes on the list. Where do they go from there? You guys could give suggestions, which could be really helpful. But yeah, that's it I've got for you. Give a thumbs up if you liked it as well. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you all next time for more Heroes of the Storm. Bye bye.